Me and my partners wanted to open Mass Movement because I think it's important for a music community to have an all ages space. A lot of music happens in bars and bigger clubs, and it's not really a place where somebody who is under 21 and just learning how to be a musician can really like hone their craft. And so by providing that space, we give them a spot where they can do that. And then also, being from Oklahoma, growing up in the punk and hardcore scene, I always felt a little bit kind of on the outside of what was normal. And so having a place where young kids can come and kind of be themselves and explore who they are and who they want to be without being judged, I think is really important. And that was like a main factor in opening as well. Yeah, so some of the major challenges that we faced with kind of having a space like this is, so we originally opened a smaller space on 15th and Harvard, I want to say 2018, and just kind of got it like self-sustained. And then of course COVID hit, and so couldn't have shows, obviously. Definitely still utilized the space as a practice space for bands because we were in a lease. Recorded some live sets, but ultimately we weren't making enough money to keep the lights on. And so our landlord was cool and they let us out of the space. And so when COVID was kind of over and things started opening back up, we started looking to open a new spot. And then we found a place over at 18th in Boston that we thought was like really nice. Got in there, signed the lease, paid deposits, all that stuff. And then the property manager over there was like, we don't want a live music venue because if we put a restaurant next door, they're going to complain about the noise. And I was like, well, this is what we told you we were going to do from the beginning, so I don't really understand what the problem is. But they wouldn't relent on it, and so lost a good chunk of money there because we couldn't get the deposit back. And then we found this space and got it open, I want to say 6 months after we signed the lease on, because there was a lot of work to do. The city just requires you to do so much to make it a safe environment for people that are going to be gathering inside. And so the biggest challenge here was we had to scrape out like 2,000 square feet of this like foam insulation that was in the ceiling. So we had to do that by hand. So it was all done DIY. We didn't hire anybody to do any of this, like all the stage work and all the foam that we removed, all the construction on the inside, all the art, everything is done all ourselves so that we didn't have to pay out, because one of the challenges that comes along with a place like this is that it's not a huge money maker. It's really like a passion project, and so if we are not generating money, then we're losing it. And so but now that we're open, I think everything's going to go good. I think the way we've been able to succeed through all the kind of ups and downs of closing and opening and finding a new spot and then having to lose it and then finding this one is just through the support of the community. And so the punk and hardcore scene, it's pretty tight knit, just DIY in general. So people are very eager to help in situations like that, whether it be monetarily or by coming up and lending a hand when we had to do maintenance on the building, coming to shows, paying the cover, buying merch from bands, like just creating like an ecosystem that kind of helps everything, self-sustain. I think that's the most important part of it. We can make a cool space, but if nobody's here participating in the music, then it doesn't really work out as well. If somebody came to me and asked what it would take to open up a DIY space like this, I would probably tell them not to do it. But I mean, the more realistic answer to the question is you have to have a good relationship with the people who are going to be coming to a space like this. It doesn't work if you just open it. You have to have the support from the community in order to make it work, and so I would say that you have to be plugged into what's going on, kind of have your ear to the ground as far as like what's happening in your space, whether that be a bigger city or a smaller town, and then just go into it knowing that it's not going to be like a thing that makes a ton of money, but it can be super fulfilling to see some 18-year-old kid grow from like his first band into like a musician that finds some success. So I've been involved with the punk and hardcore community in Tulsa for, gosh, well, I don't know how many years. What year is it? 2024 now. So since about 1999. And I think what's kept me involved and plugged in for so long is just the sense of community that you get with it is really like nothing else. The interaction with the bands is totally different than any other form of live music. It's kind of ruined going to concerts for me because I want to be involved with what's happening instead of just like watching a band play. And this is like the only kind of subgenre, counterculture of music that really allows you the opportunity to do that. And then just like the kind of life lessons that I've learned throughout my time involved with it, I think has shaped me in a way that makes me want to give back in a sense, so that like some other weirdo kid who's 16 and kind of just figuring out who he is like has a place to go and live those lessons himself and kind of become a better person through that community. Yeah, so growing up in Oklahoma and being into the kind of stuff that I was into, punk and hardcore music and things like that, skateboarding, uh, dyed hair, things like that you're into when you're younger. It's a little strange. I grew up in Pryor, Oklahoma, so real small town, full of a lot of country people, which is fine. Great people out there too. But I did always feel a little bit kind of outside of what was normal when I was in high school. Didn't really feel like I fit in. So, I mean, it was cool that I found other people who were kind of strange and a little off and just, were really into this very specific kind of music that was loud and aggressive, and I felt like it was a way that I could positively get energy out that I wouldn't necessarily have been able to do if I hadn't have found it. Uh, it's super important for us to create an inclusive space here at Mass Movement. So, like I said before, like me growing up in Oklahoma and being kind of a little punk rock weirdo kid, like I always felt like a little outside of what was normal. So I can only imagine what it's like for, you know, uh, members of the LGBTQ community, black and brown people, like what it's like growing up in a place like this. And so we want it to be a place where people like that can come and feel safe and not judged and know that they're welcome here, no matter the race, religion, their creed, any of that stuff. I think that that's super important that we make it known that that's what we're about. And we do. We make that part of kind of what our mission statement is that this is a place for everyone, as long as you're not, a racist or a homophobe or a transphobe or anything like that. You're welcome to be here and exchange ideas and be part of a community. I think original music is a really important aspect of any music scene in any city. Obviously, you go to bars, you see cover bands, stuff like that. That's fun. But I think most bands that are big start in these kind of smaller spaces, and they hone their craft, and they get the reps in, and then they start getting more notoriety, and they start drawing bigger crowds, and then they advance to larger shows, and then more venues, and then they go on tour, and then they become the Foo Fighters. You know what I mean? Like, it's that kind of like trajectory. And so I think that original music is cool because the arts are cool. It's just like, painting or poetry reading or hip hop shows, anything like that. You know what I mean? Like, it's just so important to have like people expressing themselves and getting their creative work out to a receptive audience. Yeah, with the way the world kind of works now with social media and how prominent it is, I think that the human connection through art or music or anything like that is so important, because I think a lot of us are very detached from that kind of human connection. And so the majority of the music that we bring into this space is very big on that human connection. So obviously there's people pulling their phones out and taking videos and posting it on TikTok and Instagram and stuff like that. But really what we want to do is create a space where people can come and talk and commiserate with each other and like make new friends and like learn new ideas and be challenged in their thinking and grow that way, so they're not just staring at a screen the whole time. So Flyover Fest is a 3-day punk and hardcore fest here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Kind of twofold the reason why we do it. One is because Oklahoma is a flyover state. So a lot of these bands that are big in these genres, they don't come through here. They don't come through on tour because we're a C market. You know what I mean? They hit Dallas or they hit Kansas City. So they hit close, but they never quite make it through here unless it's like a routing date. So you never get those big tour packages. And so there's a pretty vibrant, punk and hardcore scene here in Oklahoma. A lot of kids come to shows, but a lot of them are young. They don't get the opportunity to travel to the coast to these big fests like Sound and Fury or This Is Hardcore. So the only way a lot of times they're going to see these bands is if they drive to Dallas or if they travel to the coast. And so a lot of them can't do it. And so I wanted to bring those here so that way everybody could experience that as well. And then the other reason is because I felt like if I was going to book a fest, I wanted it to give back to the community. And so we made it a fundraiser for Oklahomans for Equality. So all profits from the fest were donated directly to that. Yeah, I see a connection with the success of the venue and the success of Flyover Fest. I think we bring in these bigger bands to expose the people that maybe are coming to the venue to bands that they wouldn't normally get to see because they don't come through here on tour. And so I think in order for the venue to succeed, Flyover Fest also has to succeed. I do think that there is a correlation between running a successful all ages space in the same city that I book a really large music fest. I think that in order for the fest to succeed, punk and hardcore in Oklahoma have to be successful as well. And so if you have a strong local scene, then you're going to be able to rely on the majority of your ticket sales coming from that pool of people, and then the influence kind of goes out from there. So we bring in people from all over the country. A couple people even came from out of the country for the fest. But I really want to do it for Oklahoma. And so, having the space here to kind of cultivate that culture and the scene is really going to what I think make the fest the best that it can be every year.
Awesome.
Flyverfest was a huge success this year. In my opinion, it was probably the greatest weekend of hardcore that's ever happened in Oklahoma. It was completely sold out. All the bands had great sets from the openers to the headliners all 3 days. There was no fights, no bullshit. Everybody had a great time, and they can't wait to come back next year.